up, y'all? It's your girl Roxiie with Roxiie Says, and we're going to talk about it. Today, we are reviewing The Ultimatum, Season 3, Episode 7, and this episode confirmed, first of all, y'all shouldn't have came here in the first place, but it really confirmed that y'all shouldn't even still be together. How y'all are still together, I have no idea. So let's get right into this video. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you are made aware every time I post a new video. All right, so let's get into this review, y'all. So we are at the changeover, and we start off with Scotty and Zena, and they're discussing what they learned from the experience. And Zena is describing how great Scotty was up until the guys' night when he interrogated her about talking to JR. And of course, Scotty is going to play the victim. Okay, he plays the victim, and he says that my character was being attacked and Zena was being petty. So you weren't being petty, Scotty? You weren't being petty when you said that Zena was too old to be having that conversation? And he continues and he says, well, of course I'm going to feel some type of way because I care about what people think about me. Oh, yes, Scotty, we've noticed that you care about what people think about you. You want everyone to think that you're the good guy when behind closed doors you're staring people down, grabbing their arm to make them hug you, and yelling at them. Feeling some type of way does not give you a pass to talk crazy to people, especially if you have no concrete proof of what you're even accusing them of. Then JR and his nose ring butts in and he co-signs with Scotty saying, oh yeah, Zena was probably saying some petty stuff. JR, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Even Scotty had to jump in and he was like, nah, we not gonna do that. But Scotty, you can shut your ass up too as far as I'm concerned, because we all know in the next 5 minutes, you gonna switch up and start talking crazy and telling people how many times they went to the bathroom with their phone in the past week, okay? We don't need to hear from you either. But in this scene, he does praise Zena and he tells her what a great wife she would be and how she's helped him evolve. Y'all think this man has evolved? No, he hasn't. Anyways, now we are on to Caleb and Arya, and he pretty much admits what I said before. Because he was insecure in himself, he just couldn't understand why Mariah would want to marry him. But you see the difference with how Caleb works through his insecurities and how Scotty works through his insecurities? Caleb does a lot of self-reflection and he tries to see where he can be better. Scotty only looks outward and he lashes out and puts the blame on everyone else. Caleb says that he didn't come here to pursue a romantic connection with Arya, but they did develop a deep friendship. And Arya says that this experience helped her to solidify the reasons why she wasn't ready to get married. She said that Caleb was there for her. He calmed her storm, he listened to her, and he was patient with her. And I can already tell that this upcoming trial marriage with Scotty is going to be night and day compared to what she experienced with Caleb. And baby, even with Mariah at the table, Arya don't care. She was still low-key shooting her shot for something more serious with Caleb by telling him that she knows that they would make a good couple as husband and wife. And Mariah clocks it and she asks Arya, like, are you interested in something more than just a friendship with Cable? Yeah, girl. Did I call this man Cable? You can't tell she wants something more serious. But instead of just coming out with it, Arya says, look, the qualities that I want in a husband, Caleb has them, okay? And I want that. But Mariah doesn't know how to feel because Caleb is still calling what they shared a friendship. But Arya is giving vibes that something more happened. I don't think that Caleb and Arya are like madly in love with each other, but I definitely think that what they shared is stronger than just a friendship, and Caleb is doing his best to downplay it because Mariah is at the table. But I also think that if you gave these two like 3 more weeks, something would have popped off. I do believe that, all right? So Mariah speaks about sitting in discomfort and finding herself since she had to go through this experience alone for the most part. But she says at least she got to spend some time with Nick, who was in the same boat as she was. And Nick spills some tea and he lets us know that during his trial marriage, Vanessa was actually meeting up with Dave right away as soon as the experience started. And I said, what? That's not nice, Vanessa. That's not nice, Vanessa and Dave. But then Nick pretty much says, wait, there's more. He says what really had him all messed up was when he ran into Sandy one morning and she told him that her and JR kissed. And Zena was like, wait, hold up. Especially because just the other night, right, Sandy was straight up lying and saying that they didn't do all that. And she's just training JR so that he would be nice and ready for when he goes back to Zena. And JR says, well, I told you that if we had any boundaries, I wouldn't be coming and doing this experience. So JR, the only reason why you came here was for the possibility to use your little hall pass, okay? But if you ask JR, he's saying that he just came here for answers. And the only way to get those answers is by fully embracing enjoying the experience. Yeah, we know what you wanted to fully embrace. I definitely don't think that you need to make out and sleep with other people just to obtain the answers that you're looking for in this experience. But me and mine, we wouldn't mess with anything like this in the first place. So what do I know? Okay. But JR is just singing Sandy's praises and saying that being with Sandy for the trial marriage is the best thing that could have possibly happened to the both of them. And it felt like a real marriage. How, JR? How did it feel like a real marriage? Because y'all said a prayer together and y'all was calling each other baby and boo. Is that what made it feel like a real marriage? But he's going on and on about how gorgeous Sandy is and that her mom invited him to Christmas dinner and what a great wife she's gonna make and that she's the best listener that he's ever met in his entire life. And then he remembers, oh, Zena's at the table and he's like, oh yeah, Zena's incredible too. Baby, the way that JR was speaking about Sandy, I thought that he was about to propose. I thought that he was about to pull one of them rings out and propose to her right at that table because he was doing a lot. And as I'm watching this scene, I'm sitting there, I'm like, is JR and Zena, are they a real couple? Because JR is acting like he hasn't had a girlfriend in years. And Zena, she isn't really giving the reaction that I would think someone would give when they're listening to their man just praise another woman over and over and over. They just seem very detached in their relationship to me. Let me know what you think. So I guess he didn't feel like he said enough because then he starts throwing shade at Nick by saying that he knows that Sandy had to go through hell with her ex, constantly hitting her up and trying to stop what they were trying to develop. And Nick had to set the record straight because Sandy had no problem letting the entire table believe that this was a one-way street. But of course, Sandy, she always has an excuse, right? She always has an excuse to justify why she did what she did. And she says that the only reason why she was communicating with Nick consistently was to calm him down. And let's speak about calming people down, okay? Because honestly, I was a little concerned about the amount of people who were praising Zena for remaining in a potentially dangerous situation for the sake of appearing to be more mature and calming someone down, someone who was looking at her crazy, all right? Because some people think that if they remain calm and if they remain mature and just tell someone about themselves, then of course the other person is going to be receptive and they too will remain calm and everything will go smoothly, when we all know that that is not always the case. I think that safety should always be prioritized over getting the last word, over proving how mature you are, over reading someone down, whatever it is that you want to do, because everyone can't be calmed down, okay? And if someone is being aggressive and showing signs that something is a little off, always choose self-preservation, get your shit and get up out of there. End of story. Always. And like I said in my last video, I know sometimes it feels good to be able to tell someone about themselves. Sometimes you have to read the room and say, you know what? Let me get up out of here. This isn't a safe situation. This is a TV show. There's cameras, there's security, all of that. Don't take what happened in that little scene and live vicariously through Zena and try that in the real world, okay? Always choose safety. I just had to put that out there because I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned, to be honest. So Sandy and Nick, they go back and forth because Nick feels like there's not a difference between him contacting her and Sandy contacting him. But Sandy feels like the difference is that Nick texted her 100 times and also showed up at the apartment. And when he admits that he's made some mistakes in this experience, but he has grown from it, Sandy disagrees. And then Caleb tries to jump in and defend Nick. And he says, look, I have seen some changes in Nick. But then JR shuts him down and he says, nobody was talking to you, Caleb. I said, excuse me, JR. Nobody was talking to you. All Caleb was saying was that Nick was very apologetic at the guys' night and JR was still throwing shots at him. And even after all that, JR is still sitting at this table, carrying on and on as if him and Sandy were actually married. And he's like, you don't know our relationship and what we shared, so don't poke your head in our business. And I said, JR, it's only been like 3 weeks. It's only been 3 weeks. And the way that he is going on and on about Sandy, I haven't seen him give Zena 5% of that, not once. And that shit is so crazy to me, all right? But now Sandy is crying because she says that Nick went from totally neglecting her to love bombing her. And she doesn't understand how he brought her here and didn't expect her to connect with anyone. And Sandy says that Nick should have had no problem handling being alone because look, Mariah was able to do it, but Sandy, Nick, you, and everyone else at that table knows that the connection between Caleb and Arya was different than the connection between you and JR. Stop it. But did y'all see that when Sandy started crying, JR was looking for his handkerchief to give it to her? And when Nick saw that JR was doing that, he quickly grabbed his handkerchief and gave it to Sandy. And you could see how annoyed that JR was when he did that. I thought that was funny. So now everyone pairs up with their original partners, and it is now time for the next 3 weeks of the new trial marriages. And we see Nick with Sandy, and he says that through this torture, he realized how much he's dropped the ball in the relationship. And he's telling her that the way he saw her with JR, that's how she used to be with him. Well, Nikki boy, you can't neglect your partner and then still expect to receive the same love and affection that you have not given her all of this time. That has been Sandy's main complaint, and you have not protested it once. But he does tell her that he doesn't think that she's wrong for kissing JR. Okay, he acknowledges that he brought her here. He was just hurt by it. But so she can kiss him once, but she can't kiss him. Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But he does say that he's sorry because he is so in love with her and he never wants to make her feel neglected ever again. But he completely understands if she no longer wants to be with him. All right. So now we are with Arya and Scotty, and she's telling him that she wants to bring back the fun and the laughter that they had in their relationship. But Scotty says that that'll be hard because she works a lot, even on weekends. So what's the point of working so much and making so much money if she doesn't have time to spend it with the person she loves? I'm convinced that Arya makes more money than Scotty, and he's a hater. And even this conversation, it's going in the direction of what they need from each other moving forward. But remember, we're dealing with Scotty. So you know that he always has his way of derailing a conversation so that he could discuss something that he's insecure about. And he says that he just cannot believe that there was absolutely no physical attraction between Arya and Caleb. And Arya says that she believes that Caleb was attracted to her, and her attraction grew after getting to know him more and developing deeper feelings for him. And it was specifically Caleb's calmness in contrast with Scotty's tone that made Arya realize and tell Scotty that he cannot speak to her the way that he's been speaking to her anymore. Good for you, Arya, but you need to just break up with this dude. Just break up with him altogether, okay? And I get the feeling that Arya has only tolerated that treatment from Scotty because that is exactly what she saw her father do. And now that she's experienced a man who is nothing like that, she is no longer willing to accept that behavior. And I love that for her, all right? So now we are with Mariah and Caleb, and baby Mariah gets straight to the point because she still has a lot of questions about the extent of Arya and Caleb's connection, because the way that Arya has praised Caleb and their connection, not only at the dinner that they just left, but at the girls' night, yeah, Mariah has some questions. And Caleb tries to reassure Mariah that even though Arya did have some of the qualities that he wanted in a wife, some of the qualities, he says that it was only a friendship. And we see that Caleb is still trying to downplay what they shared, because even in the last episode, he told us that Arya had all of the qualities that he would want in a wife. But now that he's in Mariah's face, it's only some. I see you, Caleb. But she still feels that one of them is lying, all right? So now we are with JR and Zena, and she's upset because she had to find out at the dinner table that JR and Sandy had been kissing each other down. And he apologizes to her for having to find out that way. But do you see how stiff and distant he is with Zena in comparison to how he is with Sandy? I noticed it all up and through this scene. It is night and day. So because JR isn't transparent and forthcoming, Zena has to ask him specific questions to find out what exactly happened between him and Sandy. And he reveals that they kissed twice. It just happened in the moment. He says that Sandy initiated the second kiss, okay? Remember that. And he also says that they only cuddled a couple nights, not every night, but they did catch feelings. So Zena is like, hold up. Do you still have feelings for her? Because the way that you're talking, it sounds like you still have these feelings. And JR's like, no, we don't have any feelings. We just had a really good connection, but I'm probably not leaving here with her. And Zena's like, oh, it's only a probably? Do you want to be with her? And child, he doesn't answer the question. He just looks off to the side. So now we are with Arya and Scotty, and she's telling him all of the things that she liked about Caleb. And Scotty acknowledges that no, they don't have the banter that she did with Caleb, but he says that it's because her and Scotty have the emotional baggage that her and Caleb don't have, which is true. And that's why I don't understand why when couples come on this show and they're like, oh my God, everything is so great and everything is so perfect. I'm like, duh, it's because y'all don't know each other. Y'all have no history. Y'all have never argued. Y'all are just in this little surface level trial marriage. Of course, everything is going to be great and perfect. Like, Hello. Unless, of course, you get someone like Scotty who shows his ass early on, okay? So Arya isn't happy to hear that Scotty and Zena had an intense physical attraction and a romantic connection. But y'all didn't, fool. Scotty is definitely trying to upplay the connection that he had with Zena to make Arya jealous. That's all it is, because y'all wasn't locked in like that, Scotty. Stop it. I actually saw more of Zena pitying you and being annoyed by you and trying to teach you something than her being romantically connected to you. That is not the case, and you know it. But scratch all that, because Scotty still does not believe that Arya and Caleb didn't share a connection and that they only had a friendship. And when Arya tries to object, he's like, let me finish, because you're always trying to defend yourself, and that's why I don't share my feelings with you. You don't let me be vulnerable. Oh my God, Scotty is such a little manipulator. And she says, okay, all I'm just trying to say is that I never described me and Caleb's connection as just a friendship. You see this one? You see that fuse? That fuse is very short, and he keeps going, and he's like, that's why I don't even know if I want to marry you anymore. And I'm like, thank you, Scotty. Thank you. Arya, don't let this weirdo try to dangle marriage over your head. Don't let him do it. And she's like, look, if you don't want to propose to me anymore because I shared a connection with Caleb, then that's okay. And he's like, oh, you're okay with that? And she's like, well, if that's how you feel, that's what you just said, Scotty. He's just saying things so that he can get a reaction out of people. We've seen him do it with Zena, and clearly that is what he does all the time with Arya. And Scotty, why is it okay for you to have, in your words, an intense physical attraction and emotional connection with Zena, right? But Arya isn't allowed to have an emotional connection with Caleb. Why is that? It's because you're weird and insecure and you need to get out of here, all right? So now we are with Mariah and Caleb, and he feels that she is still hyper-focused on finding out what happened between him and Arya. And he also feels that at this point, it's consuming too much of their time. And when will they be able to finally just enjoy their time together? But Mariah can't at this point because she still doesn't believe him, and the thought of him connecting with Arya makes her very uncomfortable. But she says, look, you're not going to make me feel like the bad guy because I just want to discuss our relationship. Caleb, she's going to keep asking you because you're not being 100% truthful, and she knows it. If you said, look, Arya and I, we did develop a bit of a romantic connection. We didn't fall in love. We didn't make out. We didn't sleep together, but we did hold hands. We did caress each other a little bit. We laughed a lot. If you just said something like that, I think she would stop asking you. Now, you would definitely have to answer some new follow-up questions, but at least they would be new questions than the one that she keeps asking you over and over, okay? Caleb then says, look, instead of telling me that I ain't shit every week, can you just like dial it back to once a month, maybe once a week? Because Caleb says that he is tired of hearing it every single day. And it seems that Mariah is always focused on calling out problems. And she also seems to be very serious all the time. And she starts getting irritated. And Caleb is like, have you been like this the whole time? Caleb is like, girl, is this what you've been doing the whole time? Or are you just doing it now? And Mariah's like what? Am I being like what? And Caleb is not feeling this conversation at all because, look, he just came from eating s'mores and doing facials with Arya, okay? They were having a ball, laughing, living it up. And now he's back with serious frustration and arguments now that he's with Mariah. And she tells Caleb that he doesn't need to get frustrated when clearly y'all are both frustrated, Mariah. It's the both of y'all. It's not just him. But child, this conversation doesn't end well, and Mariah ends up getting up and she just leaves, okay? So next we see Nick and Sandy, and she's telling him how much he's neglected her in the relationship. But apparently Nick has begun doing some of the things that she's been begging him to do and spending more quality time with her. But she keeps bringing up the fact that he used to neglect her all the time. And he feels that since he's shifted, she needs to shift as well. But two problems with that, Nick. One, it's only been, a week, okay? Not even, okay? So you can't expect her to magically forget how you have showed up in the relationship not too long ago. And two, you have a pattern of doing the right thing when you know that you're about to lose someone. And this isn't just according to Sandy. You've said this yourself. So I'm sure that she's afraid that this new and improved version of you won't be here for too long. That's why she keeps reminding you of what not to do, okay? So then we learn that Sandy has chosen not to be intimate with Nick right now, and she claims that it's because she's still feeling strong emotions for the connection that she had with JR. But Nick is like, look, what do I need to do so that we could get back in that bed? Okay, because that's very important to me. And clearly it's been way too long for Nikki Boy. I will say that I do think that it's a good idea for Sandy choosing not to be intimate with Nick, because sex can definitely blur your judgment, okay? And I know this because I read it on the internet somewhere, and that's what the article said. I can't tell you firsthand, but I did read it, so y'all can let me know if that's the truth down below, because I don't know. All right, y'all be careful out there. So next, we are with JR and Zena, and JR doesn't even smile or look at Zena the way that he did Sandy. Every time I see them together and I compare them to the way he was with Sandy, it really blows my mind. It's really crazy to me, but it makes me think back to the cast reveal video, because even in that interview, he didn't seem like he really cared about Zena either way. It's like, look, she could stay or she could go. That's the vibe that he was giving, and I see it even more now that he's been with Sandy. So JR asked Zena if him kissing Sandy will continue to come up as an issue if they stay together or if they end up getting engaged. And she says that she's fine with it as long as he's being truthful with her and nothing else comes up. But she commits to focusing on them and understanding how they can fix their relationship. They then speak about having to now make decisions with the spouse and not taking many risks because you now have a partner and kids at home to think about. And JR says that it is very important for him to be set up before having kids because he doesn't want his children to experience the same poverty that he did. Zena says that in their marriage, they should be making decisions together. And at this point, their main focus should be figuring out if they have what it takes to do life together or not. Then we see JR in his confessional, and he says that although he likes Sandy, he loves Zena, and potentially losing her is hard to think about because she is the best girlfriend that he has ever had. So now, child, there are only 2 weeks left until the ultimatum is answered, and we are with Arya and Scotty, and they're cooking together, and he's trying to make cute jokes, but absolutely nothing that this man says or does is cute to me, because every time he's on my screen, I am just waiting for him to change the conversation into something else. But baby, Arya says that she feels like Scotty has changed and his communication is way better and they haven't been fighting like they did before. Of course not, honey. Scotty is on his best behavior so that you can marry him, have his baby, drop your career, and then he can start talking to you crazy and calling you old and unemployed. Okay? But we all know that Scotty can't keep his act up for too long. And I think that Arya should know this better than all of us. So the fact that she thinks that Scotty has magically changed over a couple weeks is a bit concerning to me, all right? But next we see Nick and Sandy in the bed. Sandy is crying because she says that this week has been a lot for her and she's just trying to keep it all together. And Nick says that he's there for her and he loves her so, so much. Nick is really laying it on thick, so I can only imagine how negligent he was in the relationship before they came here. But they do start to speak on ways that they can improve their communication, and Nick tells Sandy that she needs to tell him when she's sad about things instead of holding it in and then it turns to anger. But from what they've both said and acknowledged, her main issue is Nick getting comfortable and then neglecting her. So Nick, she shouldn't have to always give you a play-by-play, right? You should be able to also take a step back on your own and think, okay, am I falling into my own ways? Am I showing up in this relationship? She shouldn't always have to tell you that, all right? So now we are with Mariah and Caleb, and they've clearly been ignoring each other until eventually Caleb invites Mariah in to talk, and she's upset because she feels like he doesn't understand why she says certain things to him, and it creates friction. And she says that when she expresses herself, Caleb takes it as an attack and he shuts down. So she can't get through to him. But Mariah, are you doing that shit every day? Like I said, no one wants to be around someone like that. No one, okay? And at the same time, if there are some things that she is trying to express to Caleb and he's just not receiving it, maybe y'all need to sit with a counselor or some unbiased third party to help y'all communicate. And if y'all still can't get it, baby, it is what it is. End the relationship, because what y'all are doing here seems draining AF, all right? So next we see the whole gang. They're meeting up and they're catching up on how the week has been. And we learned that that tattoo that Nikki boy got, you know, the one he got by mistake, actually, JR, he has the very same tattoo. And I was like, seriously? That was no accident, Nick, because remember, I was like, how do you mess something like a tattoo up and send the wrong image to the tattoo artist? Nick, you really weird for that. You really are, all right? And of course, JR takes it as Nick wanting to be like him because Sandy was feeling him so, so much. And I see it the same way. And the fact that Nick tried to act all surprised like he didn't know that JR had the tattoo, it's very weird behavior. Very weird. We then get a confessional with Caleb, and he says that, baby, for the past 4 nights, he has dreaming about sleeping next to Arya naked. See, Caleb, if you didn't downplay the bond that y'all had, you could have still been with her, right? Y'all could have just ran away together into the sunset, and you wouldn't have to deal with Mariah's bullshit. But whatever. Next, we see JR and Sandy. They're having a private conversation, and he's sad because Sandy told Zena that her and JR only had a friendship and there was no deep connection. Good for you. Good for you, JR. Meanwhile, he's been shouting it from the rooftops how strong their bond was. And Sandy was like, well, I didn't say it like that. I just wanted to protect Zena a little bit because it's not my place to bring it to her. And she thinks that that's his conversation to have with Zena. So JR, what you're telling me is you actually wanted Sandy to tell Zena the details about y'all little trial marriage to make her jealous, right? Because that's the only reason why you would want something like that to happen. And then he says that he also wants some clarification that him and Sandy really shared something real and that they weren't just playing house, but y'all were just playing house, JR. Y'all were just playing house. And you seem to be the only person like in this whole little situation who truly believes that y'all were really married. Y'all weren't married. And Sandy, she's just like, don't question it. It was more than a friendship. And you can tell that Sandy is just trying to pacify JR at this point. And he's a little hurt that Sandy is not calling their connection what it actually was. And in his confessional, he says that he's so conflicted because he really sees Sandy as a potential life partner. Boy, bye. I think that if he had to choose between Sandy and Zena at this point, he would definitely pick Sandy, all right? Anyways, next we are with Nick and Zena, and they step aside for a private conversation, and the music changed. So I was like, oh boy, what's about to happen? And Zena thanks Nick for revealing that Sandy and JR kissed at the changeover, and in thanking him, she also mentions that the two of them shared a second kiss. That was initiated by Sandy, and Nick is like, hold up. Nick is like, wait a second, because he had no idea about this second kiss. Child, so when Nick and Sandy get back home, he asks her if there's anything that she forgot to tell him. And she's just smiling and she's like, oh, are you talking about the second kiss? Yeah, girl, that's what he's talking about. And she's like, well, you never directly asked me if anything else happened. And Nick says, now, girl, you know that is some bullshit. And then she changes it and she's like, well, the reason why I didn't tell you is because you didn't handle the first kiss well. Sandy's gonna get someone in trouble. Sandy is going to get someone in trouble one of these days. She has a pattern of telling parts of a story and leaving out the things that she said or she's done in order to make the other people involved look crazy and to keep her hands clean. And then when she's called out on it, she starts crying and she's like, well, I had to do that. I had to text him consistently. I had to lie to you about kissing. I had to. Then she says, oh, that wasn't the reason. The real reason why I did it is because you made me upset. And Nick is like, oh, wow. So this is what you do when you're upset with me? And he walks away and he tells her, look, girl, leave me alone. And he also tells her that she is a liar, which she is. And he's like, you know what? I'm happy that I know now. And he gets up, he leaves the room, he goes outside for some air. And as he's sitting there, he realizes that Sandy was never going to tell him had Zena not said anything earlier. So now he's like, well, what else is going to come up? What else don't I know? What else hasn't she told me? And now he's not sure if he even wants to marry her anymore. Listen, Sandy was not going to tell him anything. Sandy was not going to tell him anything. She is sneaky and she's deceptive, all right? And I wouldn't want to marry her ass either. So after he cools off, he goes back up to the room and she's claiming that she was going to tell him after filming. And he's like, so you were going to tell me after we got engaged? That's when you were going to tell me? She was not going to tell you anything, Nick, all right? But that was the end of episode 7. Tell me all of your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Make sure that you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye!